Yo, we are live. What's going on, YouTube? We are live. We are live. I'm coming out with you with five. Welcome to another edition of G Boots 2786. This is my channel, Gavin Richard. The show is called Gavin Richard Presents. I am Gavin Richard. Welcome to the new year, 2020. We're gonna make it a good one. I think we're gonna be very productive with things that are coming out. I hope everyone has had a blessed holiday season, as it is winding down now, and we will be getting back to work on Monday. Uh, Things I guess will start to try and get back to normal because usually that first week in January, the first full week in January is coming up. So people try and get back, and it's real sluggish and slow because a lot of people are dreading getting back on Monday. People are on vacation during that time. I really don't look forward to so much going back to work, but I work for myself, so I never stop. So it's nothing to me. But anyway, I hope everyone has been great. You guys have been good. A lot has been going on tonight. This is just going to be one of those talk. I'm not going to focus on a particular topic, and particular just things have been going on. And yes, as you notice, I'm wearing my Saints hoodie. Of course, I still say who that, but we are in mourning. Saints was awful today. I don't know how. I tipped my hat off to the Vikings, but still, the Saints I don't think played very well, good enough uh, to even compete in the playoffs. With a 13-3 record, you know, and Minnesota, I'm not taking away anything away from them. When you're 10-6, though, your record is who you say you are. But of course, when you get in the playoffs, records don't mean anything. But still, you would expect that they would have played much better, especially the offensive line and the offense in general. The play calling by Peyton was terrible. And I do think the referees, yeah, they screwed up on some things, but it wasn't as bad as it was last year with the no call helmet to helmet hit. But fuck them refs. But but and anyway, guys, it is what it is. So who's in the chat room? Please say something. I saw two people were in there, and I just saw somebody left. But I always have someone watching, and they, I guess, wish to remain anonymous. That's fine. Trying to see if we can get more people. I know it's late a little bit, and people probably just going to bed to get to work. But I want to do this. I actually, who saw, and I'm not big on award shows, as you guys know, but interesting enough, I did catch, I guess, the last 20 to 30 minutes of the Golden Globe Awards. And the host of the Golden Globe Awards, Ricky Gervais, and he was going off on, and bravo to Ricky on the Hollywood elite and the actors and actresses there talking about if they were woke. He said something along the lines when your best friend was Jeffrey Epstein, and he was doing it all night, and even cursing and so forth. They had a 10-second delay, so you didn't hear, but you knew from the fact when the sound was off what the guys were saying. But he said something along the line. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was just going off saying, he talked about how don't call yourselves woke, essentially, if you guys were hanging out with these people. But his exact words, and let me just look at it right here. He said, shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care. He's talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Gervais declared Epstein didn't kill himself, prompting groans from the crowd. He was going off. He mocked the stars in attendance for their relation to the late sex offender. And he even did a joke at the end about Harvey Weinstein. He said something along the lines like, I don't know a job where you can be quiet unless you're I don't know exact, I'm paraphrasing, but I think he said something along the lines, oh, unless you work for Harvey Weinstein or something along that. Now, what's interesting is that the and people were groaning and moaning. I saw it on live television. Now, what's interesting about Harvey Weinstein is that his trial is actually tomorrow. It's supposed to start, and I know was an Inside Edition was even talking about it. But you honestly think that Harvey Weinstein is going to go to jail? They already dismissed one of part of his case. No doubt, I don't think they're going to be like they were with Bill Cosby as far as the media was concerned. Because remember, with Cosby, they were truly pushing for a guilty verdict by the presence of the media, the outside protesters that were right outside the courtroom. The judge, the judge did question the jury properly from that media onslaught. You had, as Nicole, shout out to her, our sister from Nicole's View, even mentioned when she would notice how an NBC reporter would be writing every time the prosecutor would be speaking. But when it was time for the defense to make their argument and even cross-examine, these so-called prior bad act accusers, the NBC reporter would not write anything. So I believe the fix is in. But getting back to Ricky Gervais and what he was saying, basically chewing up the Hollywood elite, bravo to him. They all of those people, and I even think Ricky to a degree, because I don't think Ricky is that innocent in this that he didn't know anything about Weinstein or Epstein. And I don't know how long Ricky's been. I don't follow too much television, like talking about it. I've never watched The Office and so forth, and I know The Office here in the United States is based off The Office in the UK, and Gervais was a part of that. And I know of Ricky from some of the movies he's been in, but I think he basically was calling out the hypocrites who knew or know of things that have been going on in Hollywood. They all want to be woke and so forth. And of course, but his thing is that you guys were sitting there with him the whole time. You knew the things that he was up to. Ricky did what Ricky did basically. He did not stay on code tonight. Now he didn't specifically name individuals, but he stepped on some eggshells. He stepped on some people that were groaning and so forth. Those were probably some of the same people who knew Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein, that hung out with him, that knew the type of man that he was. Probably pimped their daughters and their sisters out to him. Who knows? Their mothers. That's the world they live in. And I mean, Hollywood has always been like that. It's a big uh, playground for predators. And the casting couch, although I don't consider the casting couch to constitute as rape, but the casting couch has been around for a long, long time. And we know of men who, were notorious for that. People who are praised now, even Cecil B. DeMille, who has an award for named after him that's given at the Golden Globe Awards, and Oprah Winfrey, Okra, as we call her now, how she got the Cecil B. DeMille Award for Lifetime Achievement, and how that was even hypocritical when she's talking about Me Too and Time's Up and supporting that in her speech, but yet she was associated with Harvey Weinstein. She was associated with bunch of people. The gentleman who's appeared on her show recently, not recently, but he was some type of guru. He got in trouble actually, and recently for molestation. And yeah, kudos to Ricky Gervais. I thought he was brilliant with what he did, and he took it where Chappelle had left off with it, with political correctness in Hollywood. Hollywood is not the people. It's certainly not has no moral compass to tell anyone about how they should live their lives and so forth with the shit that they promote. I mean, let's be real. Hollywood Hollywood in general is a big, as I say, not only the playground for the predators, but also they basically are the talking piece, the mouth point of the far left. And liberals And I'm just going to say this, liberals can be actually worse than conservatives at times. I know that may be hard to say, but I find some things that a lot of things liberals do to be offensive. I find it ridiculous that you would think because I'm black that I have to think and agree with everything the Democratic Party does, that I have to put my interest above another group's interests. You think wrong. You thought wrong. That you would think you could pander to me or to my people. And this goes for you, Hillary Clinton, going on a Breakfast Club, talking, bragging about how you got hot sauce in your bag, doing a wobble with Roly Poly Martin, like, and you're not talking about reparations. You're not talking about how you were permanently, uh, how you and your husband basically created mass incarceration, or if not created, aided in it. How sat there and basically allowed, or not even allowed, but you caused the slaughter and death of thousands, especially in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi. And let's be real about this thing with Gaddafi. I've heard reports. Now I haven't seen documents in front of me, but that whole thing was about Gaddafi controlling the United States, currently not United States, excuse me, changing and controlling the Libya currency that was in there, because I believe Libya used the franc. But and he wanted to change that, much like in the 60s when John F. Kennedy, he signed an executive order to actually start backing the United States dollar with silver. He was trying to bring that back. And that was signed sometime in September of 1963. And of course, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I like to give receipts when I'm on here, guys. So excuse me for a second. I want you guys to look at this up yourself. This is JFK. Uh, this is the executive order 11110. This is the John F. Kennedy killed. It delegated the Secretary of the Treasury, the President's authority to issue. It amended a previous executive order 10289, which basically gave the President's authority to issue silver certificates under the Thomas Amendment of the Agricultural Adjustment Act, as amended by the Gold Reserve Act. The order allowed the Secretary to issue silver certificates if anyone needed during the transition period under President Kennedy's plan to eliminate silver certificates and use Federal Reserve notes. And of course, if you read Jim Mars's book Crossfire, he presented this theory that Kennedy was trying to rein in the power of the Federal Reserve, and that the forces opposed to such action might have played at least some part in the assassination. Well, I'm getting off subject, but that's one of the things that they're talking about with Kennedy, and just what I thought about Muammar Gaddafi. Now, I don't know how true it is. But I'm reporting what I've read, and from what I even heard Minister Farrakhan say about Hillary Clinton when he said that was a wicked woman. And since we're talking about Me Too, let's not forget in Hollywood, also Bill Clinton, former president, who's been accused of sexual misconduct. I've heard reports about him. I've heard reports about George Herbert Walker Bush. I've heard reports about, of course, they talk about Biden and so forth. We remember Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas with the whole Anita Hill thing. But I'm saying all of that, tying it into Gervais, is that Hollywood is the last group of people that should ever talk about morals and common and being this morals and standards when they clearly have none. They clearly have none. They are not the people that should tell you anything about crusading for this and that. And I get people are entitled to their opinions, but Gervais called them out on it about being woke and so forth. Don't be woke when you guys were asleep or you chose to stand by idly when this stuff was going on, because now it looks good that you're standing up for this, much like you see with this R. Kelly thing, all of a sudden, all of the adults that were around R. Kelly knew what he was about, supposedly, and you said nothing. The man that helped him marry Aaliyah, he goes on gives a document on the documentary "Surviving R. Kelly" and talks about how he helped Aaliyah lie on the application and get her a fake ID so she could marry R. Kelly. Yet R. Kelly is the one charged under, I believe they're trying to get him under a RICO Act because they added a new law. Well, not added a new law. They charged him with something completely different from the charges he had in federal court. Basically, they're trying to throw this man under the jail. Now, I'm not saying R. Kelly is innocent. I've heard stories about him, but I definitely don't like this witch hunt that the media has been allowed to do with black men in particular, with all celebrities, but male celebrities, but black men in particular. And you're slowly but surely seeing the eradication of the Bill of Rights because every person, regardless of what they're accused of, is entitled to due process. They're entitled to a fair and impartial trial. And when the media gets involved in that, it's going to cause a problem. And speaking of which, since we're talking about men in the media, recently I saw that Trey Songz was accused of sexual misconduct or sexual assault by someone, and there are questions about that story. And then, of course, this ongoing battle, it's been going on for a couple of years between PBS and Tavis Smiley. And I've seen a lot of our brothers and sisters, maybe not a lot, but I've seen some of our brothers and sisters, that's a good word, especially when you read uh, things from a website like The Griot, which I believe is owned by Byron Allen, which is a very, again, as part of that leftist mouthpiece that, uh, you know, is doing very little for black folks other than just getting clicks for them and having them comment. They've actually criticized, not criticized, but they've basically tried to make it look like Tavis is guilty or this is karma for the way that Tavis Smiley critiqued Barack Obama along with Dr. Cornel West because you don't see them often around anymore. Well, my thing with that is what we fail to realize again is that with the Bill Cosby situation, similar to that, when they come after one of us, they're coming after all of us. And it isn't so much we have to get over, we have to stop and get over constructive criticism or real criticism. We just have to realize this whole situation with Barack Obama as president, as president of the United States, he did very little, if anything, for the black community. And I know some people are not going to like that. I don't care. This is my channel. This is my opinion. And it's also rooted in fact. And if you even listen to some of the historians, presidential historians, I listened to come on WWL after he gave the speech concerning Trayvon Martin, when he did that press conference, which was practically the only real time you saw Barack Obama open up his heart about race. The presidential historians that were on WWL radio were said themselves they were shocked about it because he likes to avoid discussing topics like that. But other than that, his policies and everything was geared towards gay rights, towards feminists, towards immigrants. When you look at the Democratic Party, their platform, the Congressional Black Caucus, I looked on Elijah Cummings' Twitter handle, and everything that this man had, and I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but everything he had basically was pro DACA, the Dreamers Act. Everything was against Donald Trump. Donald Trump has only been president, and we forget this stuff. He's been president only for almost 3.5 years, over 3.5 years, about probably a little less than 3.5, but roughly 3 years. Okay, but the Congressional Black Caucus has been around for 50 years and have done jack shit for this community. They've done nothing. There've been no talks about real talks about reparations. There've been no talks about reaffirming the affirmative action for African Americans and hiring. There've been no talks about what we can do even for our former black veterans, who are living on the street? What about the black farmers that had to sue a few years back under the Obama administration? Barack Obama did more for gays than he did for blacks. I've actually seen and heard Loretta Lynch talking when they had this issue about bathrooms across America. You don't hear it too much often now, but it's kind of died down. But people were complaining about it. And Loretta Lynch actually compared these state laws that are delegating people, transgenders use the bathroom of the sex that they were born with. She actually compared it to the Dred Scott decision. Barack Obama even did the same thing when he went into Africa and compared what happened to gay people in countries like Uganda and Tanzania. He's compared it to the civil rights movement. Hey, are you fucking kidding me? And you, especially our elders who are so caught up in this symbolism of having a black president, we're so caught up, and that's our problem. We're so caught up in that, we can't see that we're screwing ourselves. We didn't even get anything out of him. At least from listening to Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I know I have, I have criticisms of him, of some things he's done and said, especially around the Cosby thing, but I respect him, and I listened to what he was talking about when he was discussing brother Dr. Claude Anderson, and how at least Hillary Clinton would not even talk to Dr. Claude Anderson or his group about reparations. But guess who did? The Trump campaign. Now, this is not me supporting Donald Trump or anything like that, but they were going to at least listen to him. It took the time to listen to see what he was bringing to the table, or what his proposal was, as opposed to the Democrats saying we're not even going to entertain you because you're not needed anymore. We're no longer a priority, and you see that even with this impeachment. They know that they can rely on LGBTQ, even though that's a very small minority in America. It's less than 3% of the population, but it's mostly rich white men who are part of that. And you're not needed anymore. And so what we see, getting back to Brother Tavis, I remember when all of that broke down and how they just abruptly canceled Tavis's things. And now tying that also into the fact that they're bringing out all of these stories from Tavis Smiley to Trey Songz and, I think not Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons was a couple of weeks ago, but you see that tied in now with Harvey Weinstein and his trial. They're basically going all in and out to minimize the Harvey Weinstein situation. And I think Tavis, Brother Tavis, is getting a bad rap for it, but he's fighting this. From seeing, he's not taken lightly. He's gone at PBS, he's sued and so forth, and PBS has fired back. They actually released some more information about the probe, the accusations, and what Tavis was facing. And in truthfulness, Tavis was dating or messing around with coworkers, while he was at work, on his show. He entered in relationships with some of them, but he has denied anything that was inappropriate. Now, you go here to this article, NBCnews.com, according to a newly unsealed report from PBS. So they released an unsealed report that they did. Let's say they're alleging misconduct dates back decades and spans inappropriate sexual comments and touching verbal abuse, as well as sexual relationships with subordinates and guests on his show. The findings from March 2008 were filed by Smiley's legal team as part of the ongoing legal dispute between the host and PBS, which canceled Tavis Smiley in December. Amidst misconduct allegations and an internal investigation, Smiley then sued PBS alleging breach of contract. PBS in early 2018 filed a countersuit against Smiley, asking for the return of $1.9 million in production expenses. And so they're saying Smiley allegedly, a few days after she started working for him, He asked her to lunch. He called her on her cell phone instead of her office line and told her where to meet him to drive there, even though they were both in the office at that time. Smiley allegedly asked her at the lunch if she had a boyfriend, and then on the drive back to the office asked her about her bra size, offering to take her to Victoria's Secret at the Grove and buy you some stuff and some panties. She told the investigation she laughed off the comments, but Smiley persisted and said something along the lines, "If you don't tell me what bra size you wear, I will make you walk back to the office." He also left a voicemail on her phone, telling her she looked so good in the pink dress she was wearing. The woman, who was eventually laid off, said others told her that she was let go because she knew too much, referring to her knowledge about Smiley's behavior, according to the report. Now, of course, these with this report, they do not name uh, any of the accusers, which I guess doesn't give a lot of information. Now, so they're actually going toe to toe over this, and PBS canceled his show. Now, I admired the fact that he, at least Tavis, went and challenged this. Uh, again, let me start over. While I don't know everything, I wasn't there. He's denying it. PBS is saying it happened. Now, they always say, the old saying is that you don't eat where you sleep, or sleep where you eat. Excuse me. So wherever you work at, you try not to date or mess with people at the office, and I kind of do that myself. Places I work with, I don't know if I would date someone, because people would be in your business, especially if you work in an office and everyone is there. You're gonna get a situation like Boomerang where Marcus is broken up with Angela. No, Jacqueline, excuse me, not Angela. Angela was Halle Berry. Jacqueline was Robin Givens. You break up with her, and of course, it's the talk of the town or talk of the office when you walk in the next day after the breakup, and all the girls are laughing, snickering at you. So I don't know if I would do that, but uh, I'm just waiting for more information to come out. But at all of those accusations, he's got several people are saying something. That doesn't mean that he did that. But on the flip side, we don't know yet, and we don't know enough. But I'm sure PBS just stayed faced because of the whole Me Too stuff, and it's almost like a pattern that we're seeing where someone makes an accusation, and one by one, they get rid of the accused. The accused is basically guilty until proven innocent, and of course, Tavis is not facing anything criminal, but you know, who knows what? Would I be surprised if criminal charges came at him after what I've seen with Cuba Gooding Jr. now getting multiple women accusing him of inappropriate touching, and he's got additional charges, and Bill Cosby being in jail, and this stuff with Chris Brown and Trey Songz and Russell Simmons, all it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. So another news I wanted to get in. Anybody know what is going on with uh, Yvette Carnell and ADOS and Tariq Nasheed? This whole thing. Saw Tariq's video earlier tonight where he was going in on I think it's Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell. Now I know who Yvette Carnell was, but Yvette Carnell actually had Breaking Brown blog. I know that was she was associated with Dr. Boyce Watkins, but apparently that relationship has soured some years ago. Something happened, and I know Yvette Carnell. I was never really into Yvette Carnell personally because of she's associated. Well, let me be clear about what I'm about to say. I am not saying or judging anyone about their lifestyle. That's what you do. That's what you do, although that's not part of what I support. But I do know that she is LGBTQ, I believe. And she was very critical of Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. And people came, I remember when they were trying to do, I think, an anniversary for the Million Man March or something along those lines. Yvette Cornell was very critical of Minister Louis Farrakhan. Something came up and people came for her. And originally, I think because she was still associated with Dr. Boyce Watkins, they, they had one of the minister's students come on Dr. Boyce Watkins' show, and he chewed her out, although she wasn't on there. And Dr. Watkins, I did, had done several videos about it, the situation, I guess to have an honest debate on it. So Yvette Cornell has never been impressed me. She's never been a leader, and I even had people telling me about her, on Twitter. Some of my followers on Facebook telling me, "Oh, well, I think she's good. She's the truth." I'm like, no, I've never been sold on her. Uh, and things have come out about her and the ADOS movement, and especially how she's basically attacked even Dr. Claude Anderson recently about the incident about his appearance on the Breakfast Club and talking about reparations and basically trying to say he took credit for her movement, all this stuff. Dr. Claude Anderson has been around for over 50 years in the fight for African Americans. I think Dr. Claude Anderson is in his mid 80s, if I'm not mistaken, from what he said on the Breakfast Club. And he has, been consistent in his argument for reparations for blacks. And it's apparent, though, part of the reason why we can't even move forward is that we're so jealous about who says what and who gets what. And that obviously made me distrust Yvette Cornell even more. The other brother who's associated with her, I think his name is Antonio Moore. He's an attorney. I don't know too much about him to say anything. I just know that, although I will say, based off the way they've acted, it's been real selfish. And Tariq Nasheed, and I love Tariq. I know at times he can be petty. Well, he is petty if, more than once. But when you come for him, he's going to come at you with everything he's got, and he's going to bring receipts, and he doesn't care how you take it. That's his thing. So this guy, yeah, Antonio Moore. I'm sorry, I'm just reading his Antonio Moore. So it's getting heated. If you go on their Twitter feed, it's like back and forth. I didn't hear in Tariq, but according to Antonio Moore, he's accusing Tariq of claiming he was a bad prosecutor, and he has no. Nasheed is ignorant, so now he parading that I was a bad prosecutor. So it's all just round randomness. He has no idea what was going on with unionization and other issues. These people you guys have followed are awful. This guy's bringing up that things that happened a decade ago and telling part of the story. There was a whole allegation of retaliation with wild accusations. I stand by my work product and my work reviews. I still have support that my reviews were positive. I don't even know what the hell's going on. That's why I asked what was going on. So I like I said, he comes out with you with everything he's got. So now I go into Reek's uh, page. I've told y'all that Tone Tits and Strappy's homegirl, Bakara Johnson, who keeps posting up documents on Twitter with my damn social security number on it. So that's wow. He's accusing her of putting a social out there. So that's that's not good if that's happening. works for the government. This further shows that the LGBT group ADOS are operating like agents, so he can call the ADOS group an LGBTQ group. ADOS has fallen off lately. Of course, I know with things that would happen recently on Twitter and with Tariq Nasheed, I guess accusations of ADOS taking some type of cop out and coming at Tariq Nasheed and foundational Black Americans. Their movement had started to fall off, especially the way that Yvette Cornell, I guess, had attacked some of the men, like Dr. Boyce Watkins and even Dr. Claude Anderson. They started losing a lot of followers recently. I know because of that, a lot of people were upset that she came at Dr. Anderson that way. I'm gonna try and see if we can speak to Dr. Anderson. I think we may be able to get him on the show. I'm gonna reach out to him so he can come on, and we can talk about his life, work, and his work, things he can do. And by the way, Dr. Anderson is also a former Marine, so shout out to him. So man is well rounded, and obviously he's seen some things, and he can provide information and a whole wealth of knowledge that we can't even grasp. So it's good when we have our elders like Claude Anderson and Judge Joe Brown and others come and grace us so we can learn. So yeah, they're going back and forth. So yeah, it looks like I and I try not to get involved in this, but I just was wondering what the hell was going on. Anybody knew? But I only got one person here who's not talking, so nobody knows what's going on. So maybe next time I should do this in the middle of the afternoon. But I needed to get on here. Maybe I'll do. I'm gonna follow up on this. But you guys leave a comment, say what you have to say. If you got anything, please follow me. Please subscribe. Thank you for joining the channel, Gboot 2786. You guys have a blessed Monday and blessed week. I know we don't feel like going back, but we gotta do what we gotta do. You guys be safe, be blessed. I'll be back tomorrow or sometime, and I'll probably do another video. So you never know. And please support the channel. You can support me at Google Pay gavin.grich1@gmail.com. That's the whole email. I also do Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire, or ESQ abbreviated. You guys be safe, be blessed. I'll holla.